Welcome. My name is Stefanie Kübler. I'm part of the SAP family for 21 years now. And before joining SAP product engineering, I was actually part of services and was driving customer projects that had to deal with transformation of business, of data. And you know what? This is really passion to me. I'm really considering what are the pitfalls that customers actually have when they drive their transformations. And honestly, I think we can really take the term into two words. The one is the business and the other one is actually the transformation. So let's look at business. Business is nothing else but processes, right? And really the fuel for processes is data. So I would say business equals data. And on a transformational piece, we could say a transformation is nothing else but change, and the fuel for change is people. So data and people, these are my two hard topics, and this is what I want to speak about today. When I was in customer projects and I saw also projects fail, I would say it always could be condensed towards the failure of involving the amount of data and involving the people that have to deal with it. So that's kind of why that topic is really to my heart to see to improve here. So talking about One Movement, which is my current role that I currently have within SAP Product Engineering, and the transforming business and data, this is what it's going to be about. So why is everyone talking about a business transformation? I think we can nail this down in three components that are actually triggers that come from the outside world. And let's start with the technology view. Of course, new technologies, and you all know that, right? New technologies are driving and demanding IT to be adopting innovations just quicker. And that term just is not that easy, right? Talking about the expectations of the business users, though, I would say the business users, though, demand a 24/7 availability of their infrastructure, of their applications, period. I hear a lot the words of the users saying, I just want this to be available when I need it. Sounds so easy, not easy in action, right? And the last component actually for me is really the competitive environment that we are all in, so that demands from all of us to be, as we say these days, always on. And always on, I mean, what has been the biggest change driver of the last weeks and months? It was not a technology, nor was it a new kind of innovation. The disruptor actually was a tiny little small virus that makes us all sit here in an audience that is clearly empty. And it meant a lot to the IT infrastructure as well as to the people in regards to adopting, right? So when I remember that day where Christian Klein sent out a message, and it took just one single email that went to all SAP saying, you stay home now and you stay safe. From that moment, I would say life has completely changed. Also work life has completely changed. So we had to adapt as people overnight, and we had to adopt as IT as well. Just imagine for a moment we would have had this environment like years back. How would we have functioned without Microsoft Teams and Zoom and Mural and all these nice collaboration platforms? How would the world have functioned without infrastructure that provides people with the opportunity to speak to each other? And how would we have functioned if we would have not been in the place as individuals to really adapt here? So what I sense a lot is I learned about my colleagues, right? I learned where they live, whom they live with. I heard babies cry in the back of telephone conferences, dogs bark. And that all, I think, showed us what it can mean really to change a business fundamentally. So what has this all to do with SAP applications? Most probably you are currently on the way of doing either moving into the cloud, or you consolidate your systems, or you want to bring your infrastructure together, or you are on the way to actually source infrastructure out, or you have some kind of automation running, or all of that. And most probably you're on that path directly really changing the fundamentals of your business. So let's maybe look at one of the components. It's not the only component, but it's by far the biggest. It's the move from our customers from ECC to SAP S/4HANA. So when we think about, and I was actually asking customers this a lot in projects, like, what is coming next after we finish this spin-off or this carve-out or this consolidation or this move of your IT infrastructure? What is next? And literally, it doesn't matter whom I was asking that question, whether that was a CIO or a program manager or an IT person in the project, the answer would literally always be the same. I can imagine a lot. I can think of a lot, and I have a long list to actually do. And I would love to do more innovation. You know what it comes down to? The one and only factor that limits our vision is people. It's capacity. This is not endless, right? There is always an endless capacity within the companies to actually drive these projects. So I think it perfectly makes sense to think about where do people spend their time on if they are on a transformational project. Doesn't matter what they do, they will in the end all have to do something with transforming data as well. So we were asking actually our user groups, and this is here from the SAP user group in Americas, beginning of this year, what is driving actually the cost of that very project? And here is just a snapshot of ECC to SAP S/4HANA. And I mean, you see the biggest bubble here, which is around the 70-ish%. It's the implementation services that are delivered by either the customers or the partners. So this is where the workforce, you could say, is actually locked in currently. And here is the bad news. We don't talk only about ECC to S/4HANA when we talk about business transformation. We have the move into the cloud, we have the infrastructure view, we have the hyperscalers, we have data center moves, we have all of that. We have hybrid landscapes, most probably you do have as well. And the second bad news is this number, this 70-ish%, 3/4 roughly about the case, is not significantly changed in the last years. It's more or less stayed stable. And I believe that we as SAP have to do something about it. We have to bring this down, and we have to make data transformation easy again. So there are certain jobs, of course, to be done, right? Whether this is simplification items, whether this is looking at your add-ons, at all the interfaces, at custom code, there is quite some jobs to be done. If we automated that a little bit more, if we provided more guidance, if we were, and I actually like the term from the past of guided procedures, if we guided the path more, I believe we could shrink this bubble. And this would actually free up capacity for doing something that is in the queue of the CIO. So what are we doing about it? I said in the beginning, I'm in charge of One Movement, and you may have heard SAP S/4HANA Move. That was one program that was supposed to push the customers easier from ECC to SAP S/4HANA. One Movement is an umbrella that incorporates the S/4HANA Move, of course, still, but also all the other moves. Because if we are honest, there is much more than the move to SAP S/4HANA. There is the move into the cloud, there is all the cloud products, there is this hybrid environment, and we have a platform move as well. And to look at that from a single point of entry within SAP and a single responsibility, this is what we are aiming for. So making the data transformation that is always underneath any kind of business transformation easier is the purpose here. And let's be precise. Pulling that together is not enough yet. The question is, how can we ease that very process? What are we currently investigating? What are we looking at? And what we're looking at actually is providing a framework, being very clear in what kind of architecture you would need as a customer to bring that to life. So you see here the term reference architecture, also for transition, not just for the target, also for the path from old to new, if you want, right? Having really a reference architecture, and again, I like the term of guided procedures. It's not just a tools play. And this is what I find a lot in the market. So whomever I'm speaking to, it doesn't matter whether it's services people going to customers or we as product engineering going to customers, we tend, and I have actually a bet, right? I enter a room and I always bet how long it's going to take before we're going to talk about tools. In most of the cases is less than half an hour. So whatever we are going in and business, and suddenly we talk about tools. I believe that this is always shortening the conversation, because suddenly, and you see this happening all over in the market, suddenly you build your way of transitioning from old to new based upon the capabilities and the availabilities of tools. That hinders also business aspects to be taken into considerations. So investigating here on a reference architecture and deploying this as a service, as an open platform to partners as well as customers, this is what we're aiming for and this is what we're investigating. So really, really clear, precise next steps are, of course, to analyze what is currently going on, what is needed, and this is where I'm actually also calling for your help. Give us the feedback on what would really help to bring your transformation, your business and data transformation, a huge step forward to shrink the bubble of the implementation cost. So what are, sure, the tools, but also the methodologies, the procedures you would need? Because honestly, there is so many options on the right-hand side, on the new side, right? Whether this is the deployment cloud on-prem or private cloud, whether this is a data center move, am I using hyperscalers, yes or no? And what kind of scenario do I actually implement? Is it a new implementation? I'm starting from scratch. What is the impact to my running business? I need to load the data again there. And are there other options, right? Like system conversion to take the complete history, of course, but isn't there a path in between? There's so many questions that customers actually have that we need to answer it in a more guided, procedured way. So let's again maybe talk about tools, right? So all of our investments, and it's not that we have not been doing anything, right? We invested as SAP actually a lot. If you today go in a new implementation setting, of course you can easily load your data into your target system. There is Migration Cockpit, for example, just to give one example. And yes, we invested a lot on the system conversion piece of the house as well, because here it's about more like, how can I really condense this in the downtime? How can I make this happen even with all my legacy? And yes, we invested in analyzing and giving much more guidance in the very beginning, though the project has always several phases, and every phase comes with an accompanying tools, methodologies, and set. And I think here is the term of the business transformation that we tend to neglect. So the question on, hey, there is more to be done than just on the technology side of the house. If we're moving data, what does it mean for my processes, right? Like the account to ledger move. When do I do this? Is this possible on the fly? Can I do a customer vendor integration, for example, as we call it, on the fly? Or do I necessarily have to do this as a pre-project? Back to the people piece. This is going to build actually the workload for your people if you do this prior to the project. So we believe that getting this all together, independent whether this is tools, methodologies, under one umbrella, under the One Movement umbrella, and based upon a platform is really going to make data transformations easier. So thinking, why is this? Because in the end, what you're doing is always you have a cut-over date, right? You have a due date. This is where you're going to be active in, wherever you came from, what the source was in the target. And the system is integrated. So the idea of, if I'm not taking the complete environment, because maybe I have inherited so much data, there might have been mergers in the past, and suddenly the people find themselves in discussions around archiving, things you never wanted to do, right? You actually want to move on. Instead, you have to take care of things that come really, really from the past. And we believe that actually any kind of move, independent from the source, independent from the target, independent from the deployment scenario, cloud, on-prem, private cloud, independent from where the infrastructure sits, always follows the same process. And the process is actually to be drilled down to, you have to access the data. And if I say access the data, I don't mean that you actually produce a download of your data from your source system. Ideally, we can automate that and we can directly access the system, right? And while having access is only one part of the equation, the next will be getting insights and not reading what is in the table fields, but rather understanding what it means. What of that is actually used? What of that might be legacy? What of that needs to be, because of the mapping, carried forward to this target infrastructure? And here it's about making decisions. And I think this is where we can create a huge value for the transformational projects. Making a decision means nothing else but applying the structural mapping, applying the target mapping. And here is the point where, for example, a customer-vendor integration, so the introduction of the business partner would kick in instead of prior to the project. The next step is always, okay, now I have transformed my data, I have to move it somewhere, right? There is a target for that. And the target, let us be the SAP S/4HANA system. Here you need to write the data. Of course, there's different options on how to do that. There is APIs, so you really upload the data, transactional way of doing this. But of course, there's also other methods that are more like table-based writing of the data. And here is the next point that really makes a difference, where it's about confirming the correctness. I would actually talk about there's 3 C's that we always need to have in mind when we have transported the data and now we need to confirm correctness. It's actually the completeness of data, it is the consistency of data, and it is the correctness of data. That has to be done too, and ideally we can automate this with clever, intelligent solutions as well. So getting again off the load from the people who actually do this in the very project. And last but not least, of course, governing the process, monitoring, schedule, all of that needs to happen here. Why is this possible to look at any kind of data transformation independent from source and target in that way? And why are we as SAP investigating to make that data transformation easier? Because we have a platform we can build this on. The platform is our SAP BTP, the business technology platform, that is supposed to function here as a foundational layer where this can be possible. And suddenly data transformation can really become a fuel for the business transformation that we see in the market. And now you might ask yourself, how does this all come into play when it's about application lifecycle management? And honestly, there is a much better person than me explaining that, so I'm happy that Marc Thier is with me. Marc, why don't you join me?
Hello, Steffi.
Hey, Marc.
Steffi, you are the master of business transformation and data transformation. You worked in consulting for 20 years, managed the largest system landscape optimization on earth, and I think you can contribute a lot to our completeness of the application lifecycle and business transformation suite that you started to depict here. And that is with data transformation services.
This is so easy in PowerPoint, Marc, right? This is really, in PowerPoint it's easy to put this in here. You're completely right. I think it was not just the PowerPoint version that had here a gap for data transformation in the build process. Thinking about how can we do this really end to end? So I said data insights, using Signavio for that, understanding what the data is about, and then making conscious decisions on what we carry on. And when it comes down to the validation piece, here we have Tricentis, right, in the target. I think this is a really comprehensive framework. So I'm really excited to join this journey with you guys. I'm happy to have you as a colleague again, Marc. So let's make that happen.
Thank you, Steffi. Thanks for the great kickoff on the ALM Summit 2021. Warm welcome also from my side for the 1,600 solution manager and ALM professionals that are joining this event and are actually registered. It always feels so good if I talk to friends and family. It looks really for me like a friends and family talk. And I'm always excited to open the event with a talk on the future of ALM to the audience that make ALM happen every day in and out at our customers. I would like to go in more detail on the business transformation suite, take you step by step through the story. Steffi did a great job in introducing One Movement to us, which aims to accelerate the implementation of all components of the intelligent enterprise. Part of that messaging is also Rise with SAP, which is standard stage in our product strategy. And Rise with SAP is the SAP Business Transformation as a Service offering. Now, where does business transformation start? It's actually starting in the business with rethinking business processes. And that business process management discipline is actually managed by Signavio. In Signavio, you model the processes, the as is and the to be. You map that to customer journeys. You can even mine from existing operations how the processes are really used by the business. And you can at the end also publish all of that to the Process Collaboration Hub so that every employee in your enterprise knows about the as is and the to be. The aim of business process management is to standardize, harmonize and automate processes, and that is only possible via a software solution. And that's where Application Lifecycle Management actually starts. We are starting with providing best practice content for all our solutions. We are managing the fit to standard workshops in which we then document all the requirements, and that is actually then taking us later into the features and the transports and to the deployment and to the operations. And then finally, we are also adding solution-centric documentation to the software solution. And we are then progressing, deriving from the high-level scope of the implementation. We are deriving all the activities that have to be done in the project. We call that tasks. And data transformation already today integrates into ALM because we are based on the Activate methodology, and a lot of the procedural knowledge about how basically business transformations and data transformations are happening are already baked into the Activate methodology that we are consuming in Cloud ALM. After that guided journey, the guided procedures of the implementation, we are going into testing, making sure that the quality assurance is there. Within ALM, we have a complete test orchestration capability that prepares the tests, that conducts all manual testing, that provides all the test analytics for the test coordinator, and then also the defect management. And whenever that capabilities are not sufficient that we provide with ALM, we can then extend towards the full application testing solutions by Tricentis portfolio, which then takes us into non-SAP testing, which takes us into the integration into CI/CD, and which takes us also into the non-functional testing, load and performance testing, but also impact analysis and making sure that we have good data to test with. After that test orchestration step, we are moving into deployment. Just lately with Cloud ALM, we also closed that gap and now provide also deployment capabilities. And then we are actually transitioning to operations and make sure that the system, the whole hybrid landscape is always up and running. All of that is actually coming with embedded analytics so that all your stakeholders of the project and operations are always on the same page. And there is also a world behind Cloud ALM, which we call the support data lake, where we allow you to tap into the collective knowledge of all the users of Cloud ALM so that we can really improve your processes day in, day out with proactive services that are coming actually in the background with Cloud ALM. The benefit of that business transformation suite is actually that you are based on one methodology and tool chain. You are not breaking up by using a third party somewhere in between, which basically breaks your tool chain. You have one process hierarchy. The processes are stored in Signavio and in the ALM platform exactly the same way, and you are not replicating it into folders of a test management product. One process hierarchy. You have best practices that you can consume from the start, including testing best practices that are coming as content with the Activate methodology. And finally, and I think that's the biggest carrot that we can give you, you have the end-to-end traceability from the requirement to deploy. And again, you have the proactive services because SAP has insights in your quality assurance procedures, part of the test orchestration capabilities. If you're not using Application Lifecycle Management as your integration engine for that whole tool chain, then you will end up in silos. There will be a BPM there will be a test suite there will be an isolated enterprise support offering, and you can just not leverage all the benefits, all the end-to-end traceability from requirements to deploy that I've just depicted. That is the value of a business transformation suite. ALM serves as the central hub, as the central integration engine, so that we have this seamless experience. And we have 3 strategic product lines for Application Lifecycle Management. We have 2 ALM suites, SAP Cloud ALM and SAP Solution Manager, SAP Cloud ALM for our hybrid and cloud-centric customers, Solution Manager for our on-prem-centric customers. And then we have Focus Run, which manages for service providers all the load, all the on-premise-centric load of the customers that these service providers are serving. All these 3 ALM solutions match a customer reality. From that perspective, all these 3 product lines are strategic to SAP. They are independent offerings with no plans for feature parities. When we look later in more detail about the relationship between Solution Manager and Cloud ALM, exactly the same applies. Yeah? One is not the successor of the other, and there is no plan for feature parity. However, we would like to make Cloud ALM so attractive that Solution Manager customers actually, when they have more cloud appetite, are really moving over into Cloud ALM. And it's party time also. You might have not noticed, but actually we are celebrating 3 birthdays today. It's the 20th birthday of SAP Solution Manager, it's the 5th birthday of SAP Focus Run, and it's the 1st anniversary of SAP Cloud ALM. If you would be in the audience, I would now force you to sing a birthday song. With my colleagues, I don't do it. But let's give a big round of applause to our 3 ALM solutions and their birthday. Okay, let me take you through the different application lifecycle management offerings and provide you the state of the union in that keynote. And I will start with SAP Cloud ALM. But before I do that, I want to mention that we have actually great contributions from customers and partners this year on the ALM Summit. We have actually in total 15 presentations from customers and partners. This is Briggs of Burton, Sabo, Westhoff Bio, E.ON, Hook, SMS Group, RWA, European Commission, Aldi Nord, Cablec, Sizecam, Richard Wolf, BSR, and then 2 partners, CIMAC, and our SAP HANA Enterprise Cloud, which is more an internal deployment of Focus Run to manage our HEC operations. I think we never had so many customer presentations and partner presentations, plus the Almathon, where we have 6 great innovations on top of ALM. So a lot of contributions of the ecosystem out there and it's always refreshing to see really the customer voice and the partner voice and not just us talking about our products. And these customers will all be co-presented from the partner side. I'll not read out all the partners that are actually contributing with the implementation of that and are talking together with the customers on the event. Okay, let me now go into Cloud ALM in more detail. And I would like to start that with looking back. Yeah? 3 years ago, I was on stage and I announced SAP Cloud ALM. I also announced a roadmap where we would grow over the next 3 years in 2 dimensions, the functional dimension and the content dimension. And I think what we can proudly now say is that we really delivered according to the roadmap. I cannot really see tons of delays. We see great momentum in the market from customers and partners as well. Actually, when I ask you for a guess, how many customers are entitled to use SAP Cloud ALM, what would you guess? Say it in your screen. Actually, it is 72,000 customers. 72 customers are entitled to use SAP Cloud ALM. What does it mean? It means that tomorrow, or even today, they can go into the Launchpad and request their private tenant of Cloud ALM, and 15 minutes later, latest, they would have it. That is the potential of SAP Cloud ALM. At that point in time, we have roughly 500 customers to which we provisioned Cloud ALM. They're using it both in implementation and operation. Janko and Michael will talk about that in more detail, and also customers will talk about those scenarios. Now, I said that we have actually delivered according to the roadmap in both the functional aspect and the content aspect. Let us go through operation and implementation. In operation, we delivered process monitoring, integration and exception monitoring, user and performance monitoring, job automation and automation monitoring, and health monitoring. And we delivered it pretty much for the whole intelligence suite. That includes all the cloud products, that includes the different versions of S4, including S4HANA on-premise. When I explained before that we have 72,000 entitlement sets, that also includes 30,000 entitlement sets for pure on-prem customers that have no cloud contract with us. Also those customers can use SAP Cloud ALM. Janko will go into that roadmap and our support for the different cloud products and on-prem products in more detail. I will continue with the implementation part. Also here we delivered all the capabilities. We delivered task and process management. We delivered a test management product with integration into test automation. And lately, just a few days ago, we also delivered deployment capabilities, which is basically a transport mechanism for ABAP components, and the integration of deployment providers will come. So what is available today is actually for task and process management support of S4HANA Cloud, task management only private edition at that point in time. We have on our roadmap for this year to also provide S4HANA on-premise content. Ariba, Fieldglass and SuccessFactors content will also follow for process and task management within this year. It's all in the making already in our internal authoring environment. For test automation, we have already shipped the integration into the test automation for S4HANA Cloud Public. And via our Tricentis partnership, which will basically materialize for Cloud ALM in 2022, we'll also have support for all the cloud products that you can imagine. And then finally, for the transport mechanism, we have that today for the ABAP transports for S4 Cloud Private Edition, S4HANA on-premise. We will deliver S4HANA cloud support, public cloud support by next year. They have a different transport mechanisms that still needs to be integrated. And in Q4, we are planning to integrate the BTP, so the Cloud TMS first. Cloud TMS is also open to all our cloud products. So if the cloud products onboard to Cloud TMS, then we will also be able to integrate the deployment providers of all the cloud products into Cloud ALM. So overall, we delivered on the functional side and on the content side. We also started to open up Cloud ALM towards our partners. We have 4 aspects of Partner Edge. We have build, run, service, and sell. All the partner types should always endorse and position the value of ALM and promote usage. For that, we provide them rollout material, we provide them test and demo environments, and a joint go-to-market. The partners that are actually doing service delivery should embed Cloud ALM in their delivery, embrace it as their standard to deliver implementations and operations. And for them, we provide enablement, certification, recognition. We are enabling them to author own content so that they can add their process content, their task content on top of ours to basically use the ALM capabilities also for the industry extensions that those partners are providing. And we are providing APIs so that the partners can integrate their delivery infrastructure with our Cloud ALM capability. And then finally, we have also built partners in Partner Edge that can extend Cloud ALM, that can integrate Cloud ALM into third parties and even productize such adapters. For that, we also provide APIs. We are providing descriptions of the APIs on the API Business Hub. we are providing a joint go-to-market via SAP Store, and we have also sessions on ALM Summit which explain the cloud-native development best practices that we are using on BTP. Actually, we are the world masters in cloud-native development, as we are, I would say, the only BTP-powered mid-range size a solution that really deploys daily and provides bi-weekly features to the customers. That is really an impressive speed that we have, and we would like that the ecosystem can actually equally perform than we do. On the API side, we have already the first API support for Cloud ALM available. We have it for analytics, we have it for test automation integration, and we have it for the task and the requirements integration. I'm pretty proud that 14 days after we have released the task and requirement API, the first partners have already integrated Cloud ALM in, for example, Microsoft Teams, and we have actually partners presenting that here in the ALM Summit. Now there's another very important aspect that you need to understand when we talk about Cloud ALM. When you log on to Cloud ALM, you are not just logging on to a customer tenant. When you compare that with, let's say, Concur, right? When you log on to Concur, you are not logging on to a Concur app, you are logging on to a travel network. Same with Ariba. When you log on to Ariba, you are not logging on to an app, you are logging on to a procurement network. When you log on to Cloud ALM, you log on to a service and support network. We have integrated Cloud ALM into the service infrastructure. Actually, there's a shared tenant in which we provide all the services on the Cloud ALM infrastructure that going forward will be part of Enterprise Support Cloud Edition. We have integrated Cloud ALM via built-in support into the support infrastructure, so that basically you can send the tickets that where you believe there is a gap or you have questions to us, and we can provide that integration also via Cloud ALM. Finally, we are also integrating into the cloud operations infrastructure of SAP. When there is actually a hiccup in operations, you can actually see that in business service management of SAP Cloud ALM. So also that integration is available. All that is based on a data lake. Actually, we are replicating data from the tenants of the customer into our cross-customer data lake, where we then apply the AI mechanisms so that we can come up with advanced use cases like project risk assessment, like system anomaly prediction. And it is very important, right, to understand that there is this network, the wisdom of the crowd, so to say, behind you. And we are always sharing the collective knowledge of the customers, right, in the Cloud ALM of the customer tenant. And all of that is based on a high security concept. Actually, we have chosen for your customer tenant the highest level of separation of data, which is schema separation. That's the highest level that BTP provides us. And whenever we are extracting data and we are moving it over into our cross-customer data lake, we are going through a secured pipeline where we make sure that the data that you give to us is only used for service and support offering and optimization and for the offerings portfolio of the product. And with that, we can then fuel data-driven innovation at SAP, doing the right portfolio decisions because we understand at SAP how you use our software. The data is not used in another way. Yeah? We are not the Facebook of SAP with Cloud ALM, clearly not. We have created tons of Cloud ALM knowledge resources. We have getting started material. We have the open SAP trainings for Cloud ALM in a nutshell. We have an implementation course. We have a course that explains how to use central business configuration for S/4HANA Cloud implementations in conjunction with Cloud ALM. And we have also an operation course for Cloud ALM for operations. For the how-to section, we created tons of YouTube material We believe that the new generation does not read manuals anymore, but they go just on YouTube and look at the videos and see how it really works. We have that for ordering and setup Cloud ALM, including how to integrate your own identity management into Cloud ALM. We have that for the implementation projects, also tons of videos for setting up operations actually for each combination of use case and Cloud LOB solution. We have actually created videos. We are also working on further setup optimization. Yeah? We have Malte Sohns here, who is leading our task force for setup automation, and that will take us to a consumer-grade experience for the configuration of Cloud ALM going forward. We also have a lot of material and offerings for staying connected. We have the Learning Hub, where we provide the What's New webinars. We have the Roadmap Explorer which we keep quarterly up to date for all the new features that we plan to deliver. We have the What's New section in the Help portal, and we have our monthly community calls, which you should absolutely join. We have also, by the way, integrated built-in support into Cloud ALM, and we are working that all the how-to questions that you might have, right, can be answered via the built-in support for Cloud ALM, yeah? So that there is no need to send an email to SAP to learn about this and that. It should going forward with built-in support in Cloud ALM. And finally, we have demo options. We have recorded demos in the ALM Media Center, but we have also live demos that you can either consume in an internet demo system or in a private demo system. The private demo system actually would only work if you are entitled to have a Cloud ALM, which means that you would have to need either a maintenance contract or a cloud subscription contract. So you must not only think of requesting the tenant for production, you can also use it just as a sandbox, moving into evaluation and implementation of Cloud ALM, and then finally it would be used productively. Let me say also a couple of words, the state of the union on the solution manager side. Solution Manager is an absolutely strategic product because we have in total 620 of the top S/4HANA on-premise transformations and transitions that are actually based on Solution Manager and Focus Build. And we are very proud that we could take Focus Build so far that it really gets the de facto for large S/4 transformations in the meanwhile. Solution Manager is a very robust and mature solution, and nevertheless we will start another round of customer connection. The calls are actually happening now, so you can file in improvement requests to SAP Customer Connection. So far, our Solution Manager development team was able to satisfy your needs for up to 70 to 80% of the requirements, and our clear ambition is really that all qualifying requests, at least to the percentage of 70 to 80%, will be implemented again like in previous rounds. We've also done a large investment into security and accessibility. Actually, we have now again the VPAT certificate for accessibility, and for security we are actually going further than the security product standards we are asked for. Actually, we have even done an external audit for security vulnerabilities, and we have actually worked on all vulnerabilities that came out of these assessments, so that we are really making sure that you have an absolute secure product out there. Keep in mind that Solution Manager follows the maintenance strategy of the business suite, at least for the implementation part of Cloud ALM, of SAP Solution Manager. So what happens is that SAP Solution Manager will be in mainstream maintenance until end of 2027. Is that the end of Solution Manager? No, it is not. There are further maintenance options after that. Yeah, for operation it is customer-specific maintenance after 2027, and for implementation we will allow 3 years more of extended maintenance following the business suite strategy, and then we would also move there into customer-specific maintenance. These are valid maintenance options. There are restrictions in them, right? But there is also a world to Solution Manager after 2027. So it's not, so to say, the end at that point in time. Now, I would like to end my presentation and conclude the keynote with a couple of words towards the transition from Solution Manager to Cloud ALM. Actually, when I talked 3 years ago about Solution Manager and Cloud ALM, I said, dear Solution Manager customers, don't move to Cloud ALM before 2020-22 because you would probably more be disappointed from the functional maturity of Cloud ALM. We are now not so far away from 2022, and therefore it's time to reiterate where are we with regards to Cloud ALM. On the functional side, we explained that before already. Janko and Michael will go into more details around that. But there's a second aspect of, so to say, the movement to Cloud ALM, which is your cloud appetite. So we made actually a bet with Cloud ALM that customers would really move loads to the cloud. So whenever you have more cloud, you consolidate landscapes, you're moving into a fit-to-standard approach, and you are not doing modifications, but rather extensions on the cloud platform, these would be clear indicators for you to use Cloud ALM. And what we can really say is that cloud is a vast majority reality for our S4HANA customers. There is actually a survey that our ASAC, American User Group community did towards the S4HANA customers. I think it was close to 200. And what came out is that only 27% of those customers are actually running S4HANA in their own data centers. All the others are, in their words, running a form of cloud for S4. So a clear trend towards cloud that we see. And that is even accelerated by the product strategy of S4. Traditionally, we provide S4 as a product, as a perpetual license, which you install on-premise in your own data center. We have complemented that a couple of years ago with S4HANA Public Cloud, a public cloud offering for S4. And just lately, we added, part of RISE with SAP, an S4HANA Cloud Private Edition possibility to consume S4HANA. And that would mean that we subcontract the hyperscaler and you actually have one choke to SAP. You would basically get all the operations of S4 from the same people that are also providing you the software. And you can actually obviously also provide private cloud in, let's say, with an on-prem license. There are also a lot of customers that are doing that are actually going that route, that they're using an existing infrastructure as a service partnership and are actually doing their private cloud but with an on-premise license. From the perspective of the customer, this is also clearly private cloud. And I would like to make sure that you come out of the keynote with a clear understanding which ALM solution we are recommending to you for the different versions of S4. For S4HANA Public Cloud, our clear recommendation is SAP Cloud ALM. For operations, regardless of which S4 deployment you have, our clear recommendation is SAP Cloud ALM. Why? Because Cloud ALM today, for customers moving into the cloud already today, is more mature than on the solution manager side. I'm always talking about customers moving to the cloud that have no extensive needs anymore for deep system management. And then we have customers that are deploying S4HANA on-prem. These customers would use Solution Manager. We probably will change that recommendation going forward, but this year it would be Solution Manager. And if you're implementing S4HANA Private Cloud, our clear goal would be that this is done by SAP Cloud ALM, but you might have functional needs which Cloud ALM at that point in time cannot fulfill, and then you would need to use Solution Manager. From a usage point of view, you are entitled to use Cloud ALM only if you have a maintenance contract with SAP. So that means if you are giving up all your maintenance contracts as part of RISE with SAP, you would then either need to use SAP Cloud ALM or rent, so to say, a solution manager in our HANA Enterprise Cloud. How does Focus Run play into the game? If you have still on-premise loads, and then you can give the systems like business objects and others that actually Cloud ALM doesn't support over to your service provider, and they could support those systems with Focus Run. And the last part of my explanations will now talk about 4 aspects of the transition from Solution Manager to Cloud ALM. The functional dimension, the dimension of which ALM solution we provide for which landscape, the architectural considerations, and then finally the transition, the tool support and the services that we provide for the transition from Solution Manager to Cloud ALM. And let me start with the functional aspects. Actually, I said before that we have no feature parity, and we are not aiming at feature parity between Solution Manager and Cloud ALM. But realistically, we must make SAP Cloud ALM so attractive so that the main use cases that you have in Solution Manager and that are still important for you going forward for your future landscapes are still implemented in Cloud ALM. And I can really declare that our clear goal and ambition is that the 16 use cases that you are currently seeing here are also reflected in either SAP Cloud ALM, with a service mesh, going away from a monolithic architecture into a more decentral service mesh on Cloud ALM, and then finally also friends of ALM, friends of SAP Cloud ALM, like Tricentis, like Signavio, like third parties, like the SAP Analytics Cloud. These are all capabilities that would also take over capabilities and features that are sitting today in Solution Manager and that going forward would sit either in SAP Cloud ALM or in one of these strands of SAP Cloud ALM. Now in the keynote I don't have the time to go now through all the 16 and explain you precisely how this move happens. For that I have a dedicated breakout session on Thursday. It's called Are You Ready to Move from Solution Manager to Cloud ALM? And if you're more interested in that storyline, please join the Thursday session that I will conduct. Let's go to the landscape aspects. What is the recommended ALM solution per landscape? And be really precise here, it's the recommended ALM solution. When it's about support, you can obviously implement success factors with Solution Manager, but you would have no content support. And therefore we have a recommendation, and the recommendation is that you are implementing the cloud solutions with SAP Cloud ALM. And then there are on-prem centric products, SAP S/4HANA on-premise, Business Suite and Business Warehouse, which Solution Manager at Cloud ALM would support. And then there are landscape parts that only Solution Manager and Focus Run would support. And that is all the non-HANA databases and then also the non-ABAP systems, business objects, SAP J2E, Portal. For process integration and process orchestration, we would probably going forward provide an integration into Cloud ALM in integration monitoring. However, we would do that in a way that we are not compromising on the needs of agent. Clearly spoken, Cloud ALM should be also going forward be agent-free. And that takes me into architecture. This is probably the biggest advancement that we have in terms of TCO reduction for our customers in Cloud ALM. It's a simplified architecture without agents or other managing components. It's a SaaS solution with no installation and maintenance efforts for the customers. We take care about all the updates. There is no hassle for you to apply patches and notes and support packages. We have daily deployment and bi-weekly feature releases. As I explained before, the infrastructure is open for own content and extensions by partners. And then there is this interesting discussion around, can there be a coexistence or a collaboration between Solution Manager and Cloud ALM going forward? And the answer to that is, in the long run, we believe that customers need to move from Solution Manager to Cloud ALM for all their landscape. Temporarily, there might be the need to run Solution Manager and Cloud ALM in parallel. For that, we will not provide any federation. However, we have obviously APIs on both Solution Manager and Cloud ALM that you can use for a custom-specific integration in your project. So that is the messaging around coexistence of Solution Manager and Cloud ALM for the forthcoming years until you are then completely on SAP Cloud ALM. The last aspect of the transition to Cloud ALM are the services and the tooling we provide. First support we want to provide you is to support you in the timeline of the transition. And for that, we have the SAP Cloud ALM Readiness Check that we are currently preparing, very similar to the move from ECC to S4. We have that readiness check there. And the same we want to provide for the move from Solution Manager to Cloud ALM. And what would that help? Would that bring to you? Actually, we would scan your Solution Manager and we would tell you all the things that you need to look at when you move to Cloud ALM. For example, are there simplification items, which means the functionality is not available in that form anymore. Those things would be displayed to you in the readiness check. We'll also provide you a roadmap service as part of enterprise support. We are building that up currently with our forks of enterprise support and preferred success services. Whenever you implement Cloud ALM, right, Steffi explained that before, there are these greenfield, brownfield, bluefield scenarios. And actually obviously in greenfield you request your new tenant, that's clear. If you are in a brownfield scenario, meaning you have a solution manager already, what we would do is we would also ask you really to request a new tenant, yeah? And then we would basically support you with selective data transfer, specifically in the build space. Yeah? In the run space, we believe it's not really required because you just hook up the connectivity and then data fills into Cloud ALM again. You invested so much in your test management, in your process management, that most probably we will have to provide you also with some data transfer in that space. This is also subject to influence. We have created influence groups, for example, in the German user group. We had already 2 great sessions with them, and we are starting actually also to understand from customers way advanced, right, when the majority would move to Cloud ALM, that we are absolutely prepared again. And we will also have technical services that are actually today already provided to you as part of preferred success and enterprise support. And this is guided implementation sessions for Cloud ALM to support you in the technical setup, but also in Cloud ALM launch check after you're live with Cloud ALM. So these are already available today. So in a nutshell, we want to provide you with tool support. You would always have to start with a fresh tenant, but we would provide you tool support for the transition. And we will definitely provide you services from enterprise support and preferred success so that we can basically support you in the transition. And I would also like to ask all the partners, all the system integrators for Solman, that they also come up with services to support the transition over to Cloud ALM. Yeah, and with that, I want to conclude the keynote by saying, go for SAP Cloud ALM for all types of cloud implementations. If you need to operate cloud, but also S/4HANA and Business Suite, there is the big benefit of having no maintenance efforts and an agentless infrastructure, reducing TCO dramatically. You would add focus run if you're on service provider, either internally or externally, and you would like to outsource on-premise applications as a customer to that service provider. And then Focus Run is absolutely the right choice for these on-premise centric loads of your customer. And then finally, Solution Manager, you would stay on Solution Manager to protect your investments. You would benefit from a highly individualized ALM, an ALM for on-premise centric landscapes with extensive custom development. And when you're on your path to S4 and you have started your journey with Solution Manager, I actually recommend that you finish the journey with Solution Manager, right? And when you're then on S4, right? And you're also moving more and more, adopting more and more products in the cloud, you would then move slowly over to SAP Cloud ALM. That concludes my keynote for today. I actually would like to ask you to really barbecue all my colleagues and myself in the breakout sessions. They actually run best if they feel your heat. So I'm looking forward to very interactive days with you. Use the chat function, right, so that we really just not have presentations from SAP customers and partners, but really we are also getting the network effect that we are always having when we are coming together on-prem. Let's go as fast as we can. Over and back to you, Tanja.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Marc. And in the room, the few hands that we have, please put them again together for Marc and give it up. Right. Now, Marc, now that we know that the far future is looking cloudy for application lifecycle management, what about the near future? What are your highlights for this ALM Summit today and also the next days?
My highlight is always that I would like to learn from customers and partners, right? So that's why I'm really looking forward to all the customer and partner presentations. I'm looking forward to the Amazon, right? And I'm looking forward to all the chat interactions with you guys. So really use it.
Right. Also looking forward to that. Thank you very much, Marc.